The 1980s gave us some of rock's biggest anthems, but buried beneath the hits were songs that deserved so much more. These tracks had everything: killer riffs, memorable hooks, powerful vocals, yet they vanished without a trace. Tonight, we're counting down 13 forgotten gems that prove sometimes the best music gets overlooked. Number 13. Let's start with a band that had all the right connections but couldn't catch a break. They featured members who'd later become household names, yet this killer track got lost in the shuffle. The Babies, Back on My Feet Again, 1980. The Babies should have been superstars. Back on My Feet Again had all the elements of a classic rock anthem. John Waite's powerful vocals, memorable hooks, and a driving rhythm that demanded attention. The song showcased the band's ability to balance hard rock edge with pop sensibilities, creating music that was both accessible and substantial. The track's production was pristine, with every element perfectly placed in the mix. Waite's vocals soared over the arrangement, conveying both vulnerability and strength. The guitar work was melodic and powerful, while the rhythm section provided the kind of groove that made the song memorable. The chorus was designed for arena sing-alongs, with a hook that stuck in listeners' heads for days. Despite having all the right ingredients, Back on My Feet Again failed to achieve the success it deserved. The Babies were caught between the changing tides of rock music. Too pop for the emerging metal scene, too rock for the increasingly synthesized pop landscape. The band's British origins may have worked against them in an era when American rock was dominating the charts. Today, it's recognized as a lost classic that deserved much better. Number 12. Here's a band that should have owned the airwaves. They had the California sound, the looks and hooks that could stop traffic, yet their biggest anthem became their biggest mystery. Y&T, Contagious, 1987. Y&T had been grinding it out since the 70s, building a loyal following with their blend of hard rock and metal. Contagious was their shot at the big time, a perfectly crafted arena rocker with Dave Menichetti's soaring vocals and a chorus designed for mass sing-alongs. The song had everything MTV wanted: energy, attitude, and a video that captured the band's intensity. The track showcased Y&T at their commercial peak, balancing accessibility with their trademark heaviness. Menichetti's guitar work was both melodic and crushing, while the rhythm section provided the kind of groove that made heads bang involuntarily. The production was radio ready, the hook undeniable. Yet Contagious failed to catch fire nationally. Y&T remained a regional phenomenon, beloved on the West Coast, but unable to break through to mainstream success. The song deserved to be a staple of 80s rock radio, but instead became a hidden treasure for those in the know. It remains a testament to how unpredictable the music business can be, proving that sometimes the most deserving tracks get lost in the shuffle of industry politics and changing trends. Number 11. Picture a band with one of rock's most distinctive voices, trying to recapture past glory with a sound that was both familiar and fresh. The reunion should have been triumphant. Deep Purple, Perfect Strangers, 1984. Perfect Strangers. Oh. The classic Deep Purple lineup reunited after an 11-year hiatus, and Perfect Strangers announced their return with authority. Ian Gillan's voice had aged like fine wine, retaining its power while gaining character. Ritchie Blackmore's guitar work was as inventive as ever, weaving intricate melodies around thunderous riffs that recalled the band's 70s peak. The song perfectly balanced nostalgia with progression, offering longtime fans the Purple sound they craved while incorporating modern production techniques. John Lord's keyboards provided the perfect counterpoint to Blackmore's guitar, creating the kind of interplay that made the band legendary. The rhythm section of Roger Glover and Ian Pace locked into grooves that were both familiar and fresh. Despite the reunion generating significant buzz, Perfect Strangers failed to achieve the commercial success it deserved. Rock radio was dominated by newer bands, and many programmers viewed Deep Purple as yesterday's news. The song was too sophisticated for the increasingly simplistic demands of MTV, yet too modern for classic rock stations. The track proved that the band's creative fire still burned bright, but the music industry had moved on. Today, it's recognized as one of their finest achievements. Number 10. Consider a band that shocked everyone by abandoning their established sound for something completely different. The Gamble produced their most adventurous work, but fans weren't ready to follow. Genesis, Mama, 1983. Phil Collins and Genesis shocked everyone with Mama, a dark, brooding masterpiece that bore little resemblance to their earlier progressive epics or Collins solo hits. Built around a haunting drum machine and eerie synthesizers, the song explored themes of obsession and desire with an intensity that was genuinely unsettling. Collins' vocal performance was a revelation, vulnerable yet menacing, drawing listeners into a psychological drama that unfolded over 6 hypnotic minutes. The track's unconventional structure defied radio formats, building tension through repetitive verses before exploding into a cathartic chorus. Mike Rutherford's guitar work added texture without overwhelming the song's claustrophobic atmosphere. While Mama became a hit in the UK, American audiences largely ignored it. The song was too weird for mainstream radio, too pop for rock stations, and too long for the increasingly short attention spans of MTV. Critics praised its artistic ambition, but commercial success remained elusive. The track represented Genesis at their most daring, willing to alienate fans in pursuit of artistic growth. Decades later, Mama is recognized as one of their finest achievements, a haunting exploration of human psychology wrapped in unforgettable melodies. Number 9. Think of Canadian prog rock masters who decided to tackle contemporary themes with their trademark precision. This track proved they could adapt to the times without losing their identity. Rush, Subdivisions, 1982. Rush delivered one of their most accessible yet sophisticated songs with Subdivisions, a track that combined their progressive rock expertise with contemporary themes of suburban alienation. Geddy Lee's vocals conveyed genuine emotion over Neil Peart's intricate drumming and Alex Lifeson's atmospheric guitar work. The song featured synthesizers prominently showing the band's willingness to embrace modern technology. The track's production was clean and modern, with every element serving the song's narrative about conformity and isolation in suburban life. Peart's lyrics were particularly strong, dealing with themes that resonated within the band's core audience, while remaining accessible to newcomers. The song's structure was complex, yet never felt overwrought, building tension through verses that exploded into memorable choruses. Despite Rush's dedicated fan base, Subdivisions struggled to find mainstream acceptance. The song was too progressive for pop radio, yet too modern for classic rock stations. MTV gave it some exposure, but the band's Canadian origins and intellectual approach didn't fit the network's increasingly American focus. The track represented Rush at their most relevant, addressing contemporary issues with their trademark musical sophistication. Today, it's recognized as one of their finest achievements from their synthesizer period. Number 8. Here's a British guitar legend who crafted one of the decade's most atmospheric pieces. This haunting track showed a completely different side that few American listeners discovered. Dire Straits, Skate Away, 1980.
Skate away, that's all.
Mark Knopfler and Dire Straits created something genuinely unique with Skate Away, a hypnotic blend of rock and reggae that showcased the band's versatility. The song featured Knopfler's distinctive finger-picked guitar style over a laid-back groove that was impossible to resist. His vocals were conversational yet melodic, telling a story that was both specific and universal. The track's production was atmospheric and spacious, with every element given room to breathe. The rhythm section locked into a reggae-influenced groove that was both relaxed and compelling. Knopfler's guitar work was typically inventive, weaving melodic lines that served the song's dreamy atmosphere. The song's unconventional structure and exotic influences created something that felt both familiar and completely original. Despite Dire Straits' growing reputation, Skate Away never found significant radio play in America. The song was too laid back for rock stations, too rock for pop formats, and too British for the increasingly American-dominated MTV. The track represented the band's willingness to experiment with different musical styles, but commercial success remained elusive. Today, it's appreciated as an early example of the world music influences that would become more prominent in the following decade. Number 7. What happens when British rock veterans decide to revisit their roots? This band delivered their most powerful statement in years, but the world had moved on. The Kinks, Do It Again, 1984.
Do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again.
The Kinks proved they still had fire in their bellies with Do It Again, a driving rocker that recalled their 60s peak while incorporating modern production techniques. Ray Davies' vocals were as distinctive as ever, delivering lyrics that were both nostalgic and forward-looking. The song featured the kind of guitar work that made the band unforgettable, with Dave Davies providing both power and melody. The track's production was clean and contemporary, with synthesizers adding texture without overwhelming the band's essential character. The rhythm section provided a solid foundation that allowed the Davies brothers to shine. Ray's songwriting remained sharp, dealing with themes of repetition and the cyclical nature of life with his trademark wit and insight. Despite the Kinks' legendary status, Do It Again failed to achieve significant commercial success. Rock radio was dominated by newer acts, while many programmers viewed the band as yesterday's news. The song was too sophisticated for the emerging MTV generation, yet too modern for classic rock purists. The track represented the Kinks' attempt to remain relevant in a changing musical landscape, but the industry had largely moved on. Today, it stands as proof that great songwriting never goes out of style. Number 6. What happens when a band at the top of their game delivers a track that captures their energy, ambition, and optimism, yet somehow the world shrugs? Styx, Rockin' the Paradise, 1981. Coming off their chart-topping Paradise Theater album, Styx should have had another major hit with Rockin' the Paradise. The song had everything: Dennis DeYoung's soaring vocals, Tommy Shaw's sharp guitar work, and a hook that was tailor-made for arena crowds. It was a bold anthem about unity and resilience, packed with the theatrical flair that defined the band's peak years. The track's production was crisp and powerful, perfectly balancing DeYoung's keyboards with the band's hard rock drive. Lyrically, it channeled themes of renewal and hope, timely in the early 80s, as rock was battling disco's shadow and new wave's rise. On stage, it became a fan favorite, opening shows with an energy that set the tone for the night. Yet despite all this, Rockin' the Paradise flopped as a single. Radio programmers overlooked it, and it failed to chart on the Billboard Hot 100. For a band riding high on platinum success, the single's commercial stumble was baffling. Still, fans who know the song consider it one of Styx's great anthems, a reminder that sometimes the crowd gets it right, even when the charts don't. Number 5. Picture a band that mastered the art of power pop, delivering emotional depth with technical precision. Their most heartfelt moment should have been their biggest breakthrough. Cheap Trick, Stop This Game, 1980.
Stop this game. It's such a touchy thing.
Cheap Trick delivered one of their most emotionally powerful songs with Stop This Game, a track that showcased Robin Zander's incredible vocal range over the band's trademark blend of power and melody. The song featured everything that made Cheap Trick unique: memorable hooks, sophisticated arrangements, and energy that was undeniable. Rick Nielsen's guitar work was both melodic and driving. while the rhythm section provided the kind of foundation that made the song irresistible. The track's production was clean and powerful, with every element perfectly placed in the mix. Xander's vocals soared over the arrangement, conveying genuine emotion without resorting to overwrought dramatics. The song's structure was sophisticated, yet accessible, building tension through verses that exploded into one of the band's most memorable choruses. Despite Cheap Trick's established success, Stop This Game failed to achieve the commercial breakthrough it deserved. The song was perhaps too sophisticated for the increasingly simplistic demands of early 80s radio, while its emotional depth didn't match the decade's generally optimistic mood. The track represented the band at their creative peak, but commercial success remained elusive. Today, it's recognized as one of their finest achievements, proving that great songwriting and performance could transcend commercial considerations. Number 4. Here's a track from America's Heartland heroes that showed their willingness to experiment. This departure from their usual sound created something genuinely unique, but radio wasn't ready for the change. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Change of Heart, 1982. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers ventured into new wave territory with Change of Heart, a synthesizer-driven departure that showcased the band's willingness to evolve. The song featured Petty's distinctive vocals over a modern arrangement that incorporated keyboards and drum machines without losing their essential character. Benmont Tench's synthesizer work created an atmospheric backdrop that was both contemporary and timeless. The track's production was sleek and radio-ready, with layers of keyboards creating a sound that was unlike anything else in the Heartbreakers catalog. Petty's songwriting remained sharp, dealing with themes of relationship uncertainty over a captivating groove. Mike Campbell's guitar work provided melodic flourishes that complemented rather than dominated the arrangement. Despite the band's established success, Change of Heart struggled to find an audience. Rock fans weren't ready for the Heartbreakers' electronic experimentation, while new wave audiences weren't familiar with the band's catalog. The song was too modern for classic rock stations, yet too rock-oriented for the emerging MTV format. The track represented Petty's willingness to take risks and explore new musical territories, but commercial success remained elusive. Number 3. Imagine a legendary guitarist teaming up with two powerhouse musicians to create what should have been a supergroup for the ages. The result was pure heavy metal perfection, but somehow it slipped through the cracks. Whitesnake, Crying in the Rain, 1982 version. Before David Coverdale assembled his MTV conquering lineup, Whitesnake delivered Crying in the Rain, a blues-soaked masterpiece that showcased the band's raw power. The song featured everything that distinguished early Whitesnake's sound: Coverdale's soulful vocals, Mickey Moody's emotional guitar work, and a rhythm section that locked into a hypnotic groove. The track balanced their blues roots with hard rock power in ways their later hits never quite matched. The song's arrangement was both powerful and sophisticated, building from intimate verses to a crushing chorus that demonstrated Coverdale's incredible vocal range. Moody's guitar solo was a masterclass in emotional expression, every note serving the song's melancholy mood. The production captured the band's live energy while maintaining clarity that let every element shine. Despite Whitesnake's growing reputation, Crying in the Rain never achieved the success of their later MTV favorites. The song was too blues-oriented for the emerging metal scene, yet too heavy for mainstream rock radio. The track represented Whitesnake at their most authentic, before image became as important as music. Today, it's recognized as one of their finest achievements, proving that sometimes the best songs are the ones that don't compromise. Number 2. Our runner-up comes from rock's greatest rebels attempting to prove they still had something to say. This track combined everything great about their classic sound with contemporary production, yet somehow got overlooked. The Rolling Stones, She Was Hot, 1983.
She was hot. juice from her mouth. She was hot.
The Rolling Stones delivered one of their most underrated rockers with She Was Hot, a track that proved the band could still create compelling music in the MTV era. Mick Jagger's vocals were as charismatic as ever, while Keith Richards' guitar work provided the kind of riffs that made the Stones iconic. The song featured everything: attitude, groove, and an undeniable sense of danger. The track's production was modern and punchy, with synthesizers adding contemporary flavor without overwhelming the band's essential character. Charlie Watts' drumming was typically solid, while Bill Wyman's bass provided the foundation for the song's infectious groove. The arrangement was lean and focused, every element serving the song's driving energy. Despite the Stones' legendary status, She Was Hot failed to achieve significant commercial success. Rock radio was dominated by newer acts, while many programmers weren't sure how to handle the band's attempt at contemporary relevance. The song was too modern for classic rock stations, too raw for what MTV was looking for. Today it stands as proof that great rock and roll transcends generations.
She was a white to brown. She was hot. She pinned me to the ground.
Number 1. Our number 1 underrated classic comes from a band that had everything going for them. Major label support, a legendary producer, and one of rock's most distinctive voices. Yet this powerful anthem somehow got lost in the shuffle of changing musical tastes. Bad Company, Electric Land, 1982.
I'm a stranger in electric land.
Bad Company returned in the 80s with Electric Land, a driving rocker that showcased Paul Rodgers' incredible voice over a modern production that updated their classic sound. The song featured Rodgers' soulful vocals, Mick Ralph's melodic guitar work, and a rhythm section that locked into an irresistible groove. The track balanced their blues rock roots with contemporary production techniques that should have made it a radio staple. The song's arrangement was both powerful and sophisticated, with layers of guitars creating a wall of sound that was impossible to ignore. Rodgers delivered one of his most passionate vocal performances, proving that his voice had lost none of its power or emotional impact. The chorus was designed for arena sing-alongs, with a hook that should have dominated rock radio throughout the decade. Despite the band's legendary status and the song's obvious quality, Electric Land failed to achieve significant commercial success. The music industry had moved toward newer sounds, and many programmers viewed Bad Company as yesterday's news. Today, it stands as proof that great songs don't always find their deserved audience. These 13 tracks prove that commercial success doesn't always reflect artistic merit. Sometimes the best songs are the ones that got away. Which forgotten gem from your collection deserves a second chance? Let us know in the comments below.